الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال الله تبارك وتعالى وآتوا النساء صدقاتهن نحلة فإن طبن لكم عن شيء منه نفسا فكلوه هنيئا مريئا ولا تؤتوا السفهاء أموالكم التي جعل الله لكم قياما وارزقوهم فيها واكسوهم وقولوا لهم قولا معروفا وابتلوا اليتامى حتى إذا بلغوا النكاح فإن آنستم منهم رشدا فادفعوا إليهم أموالهم ولا تأكلوها إسرافا وبدارا أن يكبروا ومن كان غنيا فليستعفف ومن كان فقيرا فليأكل بالمعروف فإذا دفعتم إليهم أموالهم فأشهدوا عليهم وكفى بالله حسيبا صدق الله العظيم اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد عدد ما ذكره الذاكرون وصل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد عدد ما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك بعدد معلوماتك. Tonight inshallah we will continue from verse 4 of Surah An-Nisaa. First we will translate these verses into English and then we will comment on the tafsir of these verses inshallah. The verse number 4 is وَآتُوا النِّسَاءَ صَدُقَاتِهِنَّ نِحْلَةً, and give to the women their dowry as a gift with a good heart. But if they of their own good pleasure remit any part of it to you, take it and enjoy it without fear of any harm. وَلَا تُؤْتُوا السُّفَهَاءَ أَمْوَالَكُمْ الَّتِي جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ قِيَامًا, and do not give unto the weak-minded your property, your wealth, which Allah has made a means of sustenance for you, but provide for them with it and clothe them and speak to them words of appropriate kindness. وَابْتَلُوا الْيَتَامَى حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغُوا النِّكَاحِ, and test the orphans when they have reached the age of marriage. Then if you perceive in them sound judgment, release their property to them and do not consume it excessively and quickly, that they will grow up. And whoever, when acting as guardian, is self-sufficient should refrain from taking a fee. And whoever is poor, let him take according to what is acceptable and reasonable. Then when you release their property to them, bring witnesses upon them, and sufficient is Allah as accountant and witness. This is a translation of 3 verses. Verse number 4, verse number 5, and verse number 6 of Surah An-Nisaa. The first verse was briefly explained 2 weeks ago when we had our last session of Tafsir before the Umrah. And in that we explained briefly the importance of mahar. The word that Allah has used is saduqat. Saduqat is plural of saduqah. These are both Arabic words. Saduqah is singular and saduqat is plural. And they are translated as dowry or mahar. Mahar is also an Arabic word. The plural of mahar is muhur, and the plural of saduqa is saduqat. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used the word saduqat. Now this relates to this relates to the fact that sadaqah or mahar is obligatory upon a man for his wife. When you get married, you have to give mahar, you have to give dowry to your wife. If the amount of dowry is fixed, then you have to give her what you have promised. And if the amount of dowry was not fixed, then the woman will be worthy of receiving that which is given normally to a woman like her in her family. So it could be her cousin, it could be her sister, it could be her aunt. So the amount of dowry that her aunt received, or that her sister received, or that her cousin received, that would be considered as a standard that is acceptable for this woman as well. So the husband will not be allowed to choose his own amount of dowry on his own on his own pleasure. He will be required to choose an amount of dowry that is normally given to a woman in her family that is of her age and of her beauty and things like that. So in standard, it will be looked the woman that will be looked upon will be maybe her cousin, maybe her sister, maybe her aunt. These are some of the women that can be viewed as the standard, as the people of standard. But the first preference is that the amount of dowry should be fixed at the time of nikah, at the time of marriage. And there are two kinds of mahar. One is called al-mahrul mu'ajjal, and the other one is called al-mahrul mu'ajjal. Al-mu'ajjal is the one that is paid in advance. So that is the kind of mahar which must be paid before the consummation of marriage. And the second kind of mahar is al-mahrul mu'ajjal, which can be paid on deferred terms. So it can be paid a year after nikah, 2 years after nikah, 3 years after nikah, 4, 5, 6 or 7 or 8 or more. So that is the deferred term of payment of mahar. And the time is the entire life of that person. But obviously it is considered a debt on the shoulders of husband, the amount that he is required to pay to his wife as dowry. So as long as it remains unpaid, it is considered a debt. And if he dies in that state, the first thing that will come out of his inheritance will be the dowry that remains unpaid. So a husband is encouraged to make the payment of mahar as soon as possible. The preferred option is to make all of it mu'ajjal. Whether you want to pay $1,000 or $100,000, whatever you want to pay, the preferred option is that you make it upfront, you pay it in advance. But if you want to either pay it in deferred terms, or you want to make it half and half, you want to pay a half upfront and half on deferred terms. So the ones that are left to deferred terms, you should try to make the payment of those as soon as possible, because it is considered an outstanding debt on the shoulders of this person. So mahar is very important in Islam, and it is considered as a condition. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam set the mahar for his wives, and he also set the mahar